Hey fam, what is up? I'm back with another training and I'm super excited for this one because this one hits home a little bit more than most. So, reason being is because I remember when I first started out in my journey and I had no idea what to start with. I was like, information overload. I was like, where the heck do I start? I want to lose fat, but I think I have to be doing this, but I'm not sure if that's right, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I was really stuck in that mindset of like, just do more. Just do more, keep doing more. And that really, really hurt me in the long run. So I'm going to save you guys the scars and we're going to get going on this training. I'm so excited. So the 3 things to start doing to shed body fat today. So a lot of times we think that the first thing we need to do is cut our calories super low. But I am here to break that stigma because I was once in your position and thought the exact same thing, right? So the first thing I suggest to anyone is if you are not bringing your attention to what you're eating in a day, that is the first step to start shedding body fat. If you have no awareness of your food, it's not going to do any good for you in your journey because you're going to be like winging it in a sense, right? So we want to bring your focus towards the things that we know aren't working, because that way we can fix those things and that way they are not an issue anymore, right? So a lot of times people become hesitant to start tracking their intake because they're like, I don't want to see what I'm eating. Like, I don't want to fix that problem so much, but I know I'm doing everything right. But really you're not, because you're not tracking your intake, right? And I'm guilty of that myself because I knew I was severely under eating, but I just didn't want to bring my attention to it. And I know for a lot of my clients too, when they first come to me, they're like, I don't know if I want to track my intake, or, I'm going to track, but like, you're not going to want to see it. And I'm like, listen, this is a no judgment zone, right? And that's the first thing we want to know is you're the only one that has to look at that. Or if you have a coach, the coach looks at it as well. But you're bringing this awareness to yourself and no one else, right? It has nothing to do with when you go out to eat with your friends and you feel like you need to tell them everything that you're eating, whatever, right? This is just for you and for you to learn, right? So the first thing I suggest is download an app. MyFitnessPal is my favorite one. User-friendly, easy to use, and also they have like a big recipe database, which I'm a huge fan of, but that's a whole different story. So you want to start tracking your intake and you want to pay attention to carbs, protein, and fats. And these are your macronutrients, okay? So your carbs are things like fruits, vegetables, potatoes, bread, sweet potatoes, rice, things like that are in our everyday diets. And then protein are things like eggs, fish, meat, dairy, shellfish, anything along the lines of that. Cheese sometimes. And fats are olive oil, avocados, nuts, seeds. We have a coconut milk in there as well. So these things are what we want to start paying attention to when we start tracking our intake, right? So we'll put in first things first is you're going to put in your app what you ate that day, right? And you're going to take a look at it and you're going to be like, all right, I ate 1,800 calories, let's say. But a majority of those came from carbs or a majority of those came from fats, right? So I'm really lacking on the protein. First thing you want to do, start increasing that protein, right? Say you have 3 ounces of chicken at lunch. Try having 5 ounces of chicken instead. Say you have 1 egg at breakfast. Start having 2 eggs at breakfast. Say you have 4 ounces of salmon at dinner. Start having 6 ounces of salmon at dinner, right? That way, in turn, increasing your protein intake will help decrease that carb intake if it's too high, right? Because oftentimes we're looking at what can we take away, but instead let's look at what we can add in order to get to our results better, right? So you want to start tracking that intake. And once you know what the bottleneck is in that intake, start doing that consistently. And then you're going to have a good idea of where your macronutrients are off balance and how you can go about fixing that. And that's going to be super helpful for you to know, like, okay, this is how I'm going to start losing fat, right? First of all, if your intake is like an excessive amount, you want to focus on getting that a little bit lower. And if your protein intake is really low, you want to focus on getting that higher, right? So it's going to give you that awareness of what you need to start changing. All right. And I hope that was helpful because I think this was like one of the biggest things for me when I first started was I had no awareness of my nutrition. And that's like a huge thing, right? You want to be aware of what you're eating and where the problem is. So next thing is we are going to start strength training, because if we are only doing cardio burns calories, does not burn fat. Okay. Maybe to a certain extent, but let's just remember that cardio burns calories, strength training burns fat. And if you're only doing cardio, which most of you are, or your strength training to a point where it's not challenging for you. Because I see this a lot. People start strength training, especially women, and they're like, this is kind of boring. Like, it doesn't feel challenging. It's because you're not pushing yourself to your limit, right? The thing you want to know about strength training is that it doesn't work unless you're actually challenging yourself. I mean, it does, but it doesn't work to its full potential unless you're challenging yourself. So let's look at this girl in this photo, for example. She's lifting some heavy weight, right? If you're lifting that heavy weight with good form and you're doing it for a consistent amount of time and a consistent amount of reps, you're going to see progress, right? But if you're constantly going to the gym and you're doing the 5-pound weights for a shoulder press every time and you're just easily pressing those for like 15 reps, no problem, you're not going to see a lot of muscle growth happening because you're not pushing yourself to the full potential that you can push yourself to. So that's number one, is really challenge yourself with that strength training. Don't go in and lift the same exact weight every single time. When it starts to get hard, increase the weight and decrease the reps, or keep the weight and increase the reps. Okay, so another big note to follow is don't just go in and do whatever you want. Go in with intention. Go in with the intention to challenge yourself. And you want to go in with a plan, right? Because with failing to plan is planning to fail. And I'll say that 10 times over again. I mean, not right now, but you'll hear me say that in a lot of my YouTubes. But we want to remember that having a strategic plan when it comes to strength training is going to get you that progressive overload effect of being able to push your weight, challenge yourself, and you're going to see more growth than if you're going in blind every time and doing all these random different things, which I was super guilty of in the beginning. I didn't know what to do with my strength training. So I would just kind of like go in, do the machines here and there, then go on the cardio because I was like, okay, this is boring. But once I had intention with my training and I had a plan to follow, it was really easy for me to want to go and want to keep pushing myself because it was more enjoyable. It was more fun. And you get to really see yourself progress in those certain movements, which makes it all the more worth it because you're like, ooh, this is cool. Like, I'm getting really strong in my squats, or I'm getting really strong in my deadlifts, you know? And you can see that progress just like you can physically see it as well. So really, really important note there. Now, number 3, dish that all or nothing mentality. So I know this is easier said than done. So I'm going to start this one off with a little story. But when I first started my journey, I thought that you have to give up every single thing you like in life in order to see results. And I was very far from wrong, very far from right. And because of that, it put me in this mentality of like, you know, if I'm not going to do this right, then I might as well not do that at all, you know? And it put me in that mindset of like, if I can't eat healthy today, then I might as well just say F it and then eat like crap the rest of the day and the rest of the week, right? And we don't want to fall into that all or nothing mentality, right? If you can't do it perfectly, then don't do it at all, because that's going to get us nowhere. And I think that the one thing that helped me do that is being able to create balance in my life. And this comes over time, guys. Like, this isn't going to happen in the blink of an eye. It's not going to happen right when you wake up. You're going to be like, I have balance today. No, it doesn't work like that. It comes with this constant practice. So we want to see, like we can note in this picture, we want to be able to see that we have a good life balance of career and family and health and friends, right? Of all the things that we enjoy in our life. And in order to do that, we don't have to do things to the extreme, or we don't have to do things not at all, right? We want to find our place right in the middle of that, right? And I think that the biggest suggestion or the biggest step that I want you to try taking in order to get to this is do one thing every day that makes you excited and happy that doesn't involve health and fitness. Or if it does, that's great. Like, I love to walk my dog, and that just so happens to be outside getting active, but it's just what I like to do, right? I enjoy being outdoors. I enjoy walking. I enjoy my dog. She's cute as hell. So one thing that you enjoy in the day, and do that every day. And then on the weekends, do something fun. Do something fun with your friends or your family or something you like doing. Don't cut it out because you're trying to get yourself healthy, right? And the reason why this one is so important, this is why I created this as the third thing for losing fat, because this has a lot to do with your fat loss results, right? It's not just about what you eat and how you exercise. It's also about what you're doing with your life, how you're living your life, how you're taking care of your emotional state, your mental state, everything, right? If you create a life full of just health and fitness, you're going to end up resenting it because you're not going to have any kind of balance in your life. And that's what I did when I first started. I made this about my whole life, and then I got burnt out and I didn't want to do it anymore because I was like, this is boring as hell, right? And we don't want that. We want to be able to do these things for a lifetime, and we want to be able to stick to them. And in order to stick to them, we have to create habits and and priorities and values that align with our lifestyle, right? So maybe you are hanging out with your friends, but you're going and doing something active, and that's fantastic, right? But you're doing it with the people you love. And then maybe you go out and you like to go get a drink, or you like to go to the bar, or you like to go to brunch with your girls, or you like to travel, whatever that is. Keep doing those things. Don't just stop doing them because you want to get yourself healthy. You want to keep doing those things, because creating that into the health and fitness field is also going to give you balance, right? You're going to have the ability to do all of the things you love and still get yourself healthy and lose fat and have a killer rockin' body with confidence in and out of the gym, right? And that's what it's all about. Is we want to be able to have that balance of life and health, because without that, none of this is going to be enjoyable and none of it's going to matter, right? And if we're not creating a sustainable routine for ourselves where we do have all of those things, what's that going to do? It's going to leave us defeated. It's going to leave us pretty burnt out, and it's going to leave us miserable, right? And we definitely don't want that. So I am here to tell you that these are the 3 things that you need in order to start shedding body fat, because without it, it's going to be tough, right? So if you guys liked this video, subscribe, like the video, and I will see you in the next training. Bye.